evening, everybody. So nice to see so many names that I recognize and so many names that are new. Thank you so much for joining us. Tonight is SightLife's Community of Compassion virtual event in honor of National Eye Donation Month. Tonight, we're connecting with one another virtually, but we're here to celebrate eye donation and honor SightLife's donor families, as well as their loved ones who selflessly gave so others could see. We are so happy to have you here. My name is Rebecca Grossman. I have the privilege of leading the Family Services program at SightLife in collaboration with my wonderful colleague, Stacy Dahlman, our Family Services Specialist.
Hello, thank you, Rebecca. I am so happy and honored that you all have joined us tonight and from so many different parts of the country. I'm recognizing names as well and from all over the place. I saw some names from Wisconsin, certainly some Washington families. We are just so happy that you're all here. Tonight's event is the second in 2 years, so I guess it's an annual thing now, right?
Yes, I think so. One silver lining that we discovered during the pandemic is that events like tonight's are possible virtual. And that's one thing that's really exciting because we have families all over the country. So this gives us the opportunity to be together in community. We have donor families here tonight, transplant recipients, community partners, and friends from SightLife from near and far. And we're here for a common goal, and that is to celebrate eye donation and its transformative impact. Tonight, we are going to focus on eye donation, but I do want to acknowledge that there are donor families with us whose loved ones may have donated other tissue and organs as well. We have so much gratitude for those life-changing and life-saving gifts as well. Like last year, the 2021 theme of Eye Donation Month is Community of Compassion, which recognizes and underscores all of the people and organizations that make cornea donation possible, from donors, of course, their loved ones, to hospital staff, funeral directors, medical examiners, coroners, recipients, corneal surgeons, as well as, of course, the SightLife staff. Together, we represent a beautiful community of compassion. This year, the emphasis is on the passion, not only our passion to restore sight, but support each one of you. The donors, the families that decided to help those in need. We are so grateful. The passion and gratitude that recipients feel from renewed sight, the passionate care and support that nurses, funeral directors, and first responders provide in the raw early moments of grief.
Yes, Rebecca, and we will certainly hear passion from our guests tonight. We have Jim Mccorkle, who's CEO of SightLife, to share some additional thoughts of gratitude. Chris Bohinski, a donor family, will share with us about his mom and reflect on her cornea donation. And we have Sam Gonzalez, a cornea recipient, who will share what the gift of sight has meant to him since receiving a corneal transplant. We will also be honoring those who gave selflessly so that others could see. Some of you sent in pictures of your loved one, and we will be presenting them in a few different slideshows throughout the event. We also have SightLife's very own Dina, Jody, and Erica, who are available to engage with you and answer any questions that you might have in the chat box. So be in touch. Before we do begin, there are a few housekeeping notes, just so that everyone knows you'll remain on mute throughout the program and your camera will remain off, so we cannot see you. And also, as a heads up, this event will be recorded. We recommend putting your view settings onto full view. That way you can see the screen and watch what's in the chat box. If any technical issues do arise, please just extend us grace and compassion as we will work to resolve them. If for some reason you are just logged out of the Zoom event, try logging back in. And if there are individual technical issues, you can email our staff at marketing@sightlife.org, and we will be in touch. On occasion, we'll be encouraging your participation in the chat box, which you can access by clicking on the word bubble with the 3 dots that are at the bottom of your screen. And when you are chatting, be sure to select that your message is sent to all panelists and attendees, so that way everyone will be able to see your messages.
Thank you, Stacy, for the thorough housekeeping. In addition to your questions, tonight's event may bring you an array of emotions: sadness, pride, joy, perhaps peace. Please know that all emotions are welcomed. This is a safe place for whatever you bring to the table with kindness and gratitude. And please practice patience and grace with yourself. Take a deep breath and reach out to each other, our amazing and wonderful community of donor families and SightLife staff. You may also consider to find some comfort by putting up your feet. You're at home. This is the beauty of a virtual event. Grab a blanket, have a beverage nearby. Perhaps even if you don't already, have a picture of your loved one beside you. Make sure to have some tissues on hand. And if you happen to be alone tonight, consider reaching out to a friend or family member after the program for support, or to just talk, check in with them, process if as needed.
Yes, and now also as a form of comfort and reflection, we will be lighting our candles. So we light these candles together as an act of unity and respect for the generous donation provided by our loved ones. The candles also honor their lives, their legacy of compassion and generosity, and their continuous light that shines on through new connections of hope and healing.
Thank you, Stacy. Now it is my absolute honor to welcome our CEO, Jim Mccorkle. Jim joined SightLife in 2018, first serving as our Chief of Staff, before taking up the role of Chief Operating Officer in 2019, and now CEO.
Yeah, thank you, Rebecca. SightLife and our network of donor families and donation partners are very lucky to have you and Stacy and the compassionate care and attention you provide. The support you provide families in the early days of grief and over time is truly and deeply inspiring. And SightLife's impact would not be possible without people like you. Or countless individuals, families, donation partners who believe, as we do, that no one should have to wait for the corneal care they need to be able to stay in school, to sustain a livelihood, to provide for those they love. It truly takes a village, and for that, I am very grateful. So first, to the donor families, it's so amazing to see so many of you on this call tonight. I find your support and your strength just truly remarkable. And thank you for answering our call in your darkest hour and saying yes to donation. The legacy of your loved one truly lives on. To our transplant recipients, You are living proof of the importance of donation and its transformative impact. Thank you for carrying the legacy of your donor in your heart every day. To our partners, thank you for all you do. At every hour of the day and night, you help connect SightLife to donor families so that we can honor the wishes of their loved ones and we can help transform the lives of those who suffer from corneal blindness. It is SightLife's honor to collaborate and celebrate with all of this community. It's easy to say one supports donation, but this community lives out these values every day. In ways large and small, you do what you do in service to others, strangers even, because they are suffering and in need. So for more than 50 years, SightLife has served as a leader and partner in strengthening corneal care policies, systems, and services. So everyone, everywhere can benefit from the gift of sight, and no one suffers needlessly in the dark. We are on a mission to eliminate corneal blindness, and our work extends from cornea donation to cornea transplantation, from corneal injury and disease prevention. In the US, our operations team ensures that our sector can meet 100% of the demand for corneal transplants. That means every year in the US, 50,000 people have their sight restored through cornea transplant. We do all of this with care and purpose because we know that the gift of sight comes from loss. Tonight's gathering is one of many ways we honor and celebrate our cornea donors, whose generosity helps renew hope and healing for those suffering in darkness, including the darkness that can overwhelm our hearts when a loved one passes. I want to share a story with you about such a family. Pastors Levi and Jenny Lesko from Montana lost their 5-year-old daughter, Lenya, who suffered a fatal asthma attack just 5 days before Christmas. The Leskos recently shared with us that they found it difficult but very important to say yes when they were asked to consent for donation of Lenya's corneas. Since then, as you can imagine, they have been on a journey from unimaginable grief, but also to finding purpose in their pain. And it's nothing short of remarkable. No, as I said, they're pastors. So as faith leaders, the Leskos regularly explore life's big questions and lessons. But after Lenya passed in 2012, Levi told us that he was not strong enough to even talk about it. But through what he calls a telescope of faith, they drew on the support of their community and SightLife. And they wrote letters about Lenya to the 2 people who had received her corneas. Jenny says that it remains a journey, what she calls a fight to flourish. But through their pain, they have found a roaring purpose as well as renewed hope and gratitude. The gratitude is for the community of compassion who supported them during their darkest hour. It's from the first responders to staff at hospitals and funeral homes, to their neighbors and to their church family. They have gratitude for the opportunity for Lenya to bring light to her transplant recipients, who now see the magic and wonder of the world through her eyes. I hope today's celebration brings you closer to what you need on your journey. Perhaps it's a deeper sense of connection to a community and knowledge that you are not alone, especially after hearing about Levi and Jenny's story. Or from Chris and Sam, where you'll hear their stories later tonight. There are so many different feelings to process, from joy to comfort, but sadness. And feelings on both sides of and across the spectrum are normal and understandable. SightLife is truly honored to carry you in our hearts, and we appreciate you joining us tonight. Working together in community, we light up lives worldwide. Thank you again.
Thank you, Jim. Your words are so appreciated. Now we also want to hear from our attendees. So we'll ask if in the chat box, share with us how you are connected to SightLife. Whether you're a donor family, maybe a transplant recipient, donation partner. If you'd like to share where you're zooming in from, because we are all over the country. And if you are a donor family, if you also want to consider sharing your loved one's name.
And we have a lot of folks who have been doing so since the beginning, which is so neat. It's hard when you're doing this because I tend to look there because there's just so much amazing stuff. We have Linda, who's a donation family. Thank you. Some are from Montana, some are from Flagstaff. Thank you for being here. Charles Braun, thank you. A donor family from California, thank you for being here.
We're so glad. Oh yeah, I see Michigan and lots of Washington. Oh, it's really amazing seeing so many familiar names that I recognize from some of our different activities. A lot of names I'm recognizing from our donor family Facebook group. So some of you might be recognizing each other as well.
Yeah, our Facebook group and our smaller virtual gatherings that we've had over this past year. It's so great to see all of you here together. We do offer our families so many different ways to connect one another. The Facebook group, the donor friendly Facebook group, and our virtual gatherings, and we'll explain later in tonight's event how to connect that way. So if you are interested in connecting more with this community, that's really a great way of doing that. Santa Cruz, they are just coming in so quickly. Mike from Washington State. Thank you, Martha. Thank you all so much for sharing tonight.
I see someone here even from North Carolina.
Welcome. Oh, wow. Yeah.
New York.
Wapato. But I don't know if I pronounced that right. Wapato, Washington. I hope I did.
That is what makes our groups and being able to come together virtually. That is truly the silver lining, as you said, Rebecca, because so many people get to connect this way that wouldn't have had the opportunity otherwise.
Yep. And Laurel Hanson from Billings, Montana. Laurel, I'm so glad that you're here. She is a recipient. Thank you so much for being here. And I love seeing all these connections and how we're connected to SightLife. Next, we have Chris Bohinski, who, like you, are doing tonight. He joined our event last year, which was his first with SightLife. After the event, he took the opportunity and reflected on the experience on his social media page, and we reached out with an idea. As he is a co-host of an afternoon news program, Pennsylvania Live in Pennsylvania, would he, oh, sorry, PA Live in Pennsylvania, would he want to tell his mother's story to honor her legacy? Let's watch what he did.
Often we hear people challenge us to walk a day in their shoes. But have you ever been asked to live your life looking through someone else's eyes?
WBRE 28 and WYOU 22 eyewitness news reporter Chris Bohinski explains how a simple yes can give someone the gift of sight.
It's a lot like looking through life in a 5-year-old's finger painting. It's just smeary blobs of color.
For Samantha Wilcox, much of her life has been blinded due to eye disease.
Your life is on hold, you can't do what you want to do, and it's a struggle or it's almost impossible to even leave the house.
Globally, there's 12.7 million people that are suffering from corneal blindness.
That's where SightLife comes into focus, the world's leading eye bank that gives people a second chance at life through sight-restoring treatments with corneas.
That small gift of tissue is life-changing for the recipients.
The transparent, dome-shaped, dime-sized cornea needs to be harvested and preserved shortly after someone's death for it to have the best chance of giving someone the gift of sight. SightLife makes the difficult phone calls to grieving families to get their approval for that cornea donation.
Often we find that just those conversations and that opportunity in a time of grief can bring a little hope and light in someone's bereavement.
In August 2019, my siblings and I got that exact phone call.
I understand the cost that my life and my happiness came to these individuals who on one of their darkest days made a decision to help me, a complete stranger. The Matterhorn.
Wow. Oh, you look so happy.
I know, and it was actually a nice warm day. It wasn't too cold in there. Somewhere out there, there's a kid just like me waiting to conquer the world, and all they need is a yes from that donor family.
We'll miss you until the next time. It'll be a good day. And maybe you see your room when you get home.
I love you.
I love you. I love you too, Chris.
I love spending all this time with you.
I do too.
Because we know what the end goal is.
Yeah, getting home.
Although that home was heaven for my mom, maybe, just maybe, the person watching this story right now is watching through her eyes.
Just say yes to the gift of sight.
Wow, such a moving and powerful story, Chris. Thanks for opening us up to that. Now, here in Pennsylvania, nearly 95% of the state supports organ donation, but less than 50% of those people are actually registered.
We have all the information you need for the SightLife program, plus how you can check your status and even become an organ donor. All you have to do, it's right there on your screen, visit pahomepage.com. And I also just wanted to note, you may have noticed I was wearing a turquoise bracelet in that story. You saw it really when I was flipping through that photo album with Samantha, but this is my mom's turquoise bracelet. Later in life, basically when she was sick with the recurrence of cancer, she just loved turquoise stuff. When we made Christmas ornaments, she wanted turquoise glitter for these ornaments. She just loved it. And we finally found a bracelet that she liked, and we were able to get extenders so it fit her wrist. So Mom and everyone else watching, I'm wearing this to honor all the loved ones in our lives that, you know, have passed on and are in a greater place.
Well, thank you, Chris, for that incredible story. And we invite you to go ahead and turn your camera on and unmute because we would love to talk with you. That was just an amazing tribute to your mother, Barbara. It was so beautiful. And, you know, I've seen it a few times, and every time I watch, it's just more powerful than it was before. Well, you have the gift of storytelling.
Yeah. Yeah.
I appreciate that. And it's easy to tell a story that what at the core of it, you realize is just life. You know, we're all on this journey, and sometimes our paths go in different ways that you would have probably never would have thought they would be going in. And if you just remember that we're all in this together, just trying to do our best, it's you know, easy to tell other people's stories.
Yeah. I loved watching you interact with Samantha, the cornea recipient. What are 3 words you would use to describe your experience meeting Samantha? And if you need to use more than 3 words, that's okay.
Oh, well, I feel like I was given a task of keeping it to 3. So let me do 3. I would say weirdly, remarkably familiar.
Explain that. I want to hear more.
Being, and I wouldn't even say ignorant to what corneal donation was before this. It just wasn't something that I was familiar with before the topic came up when our mom passed. Learning about what SightLife does and seeing the impact that it has in the United States and globally. Every person, and I kind of touched upon it in that piece, that you look at could potentially be your loved one's recipient. So, I mean, I knew that Samantha did not have either of my mom's corneas, but you know that she had someone's brother, aunt, a grandma, a neighbor, you know, a part of her. So it was like we were friends with this common thread of eyes that was able to connect us.
Oh, that's so beautifully said, Chris, that it is this thread that connects us. And you also mentioned that you weren't very familiar with cornea donation before you got that call, which is really, really common. That's the situation, I think, for many families. But how has your perspective on donation been changed just by the experience you've had?
Listen, I've been reading the chat box throughout tonight. Also last year when I was here, you know, as an attendee, just like so many of you are right now. And everyone's watching it. I saw there's someone from Clark Summit here in PA. I saw Bethlehem. So I have to give the Pennsylvania folks some shout outs. Sorry if I missed any other PAs that went by. But, you know, one of the comments that I saw tonight was initially someone didn't, or they hung up the phone call when they were asked and approached after their loved one passed. And that was the instance and case for my sister, brother, and I. We were the next of kin here in Pennsylvania because our dad, our mom's husband, he had also previously passed. So when we were called and, you know, within hours, you know, not even 6 hours of her death, and was being asked about her eyes and her corneas, it was a little shocking. And I think because she had passed very early in the morning, we were also probably tired that specific day. And I think the number one thing that my sister, brother, and I collectively had individually, but then when we convened together, we all shared it with one another, is we were scared that we weren't thinking about the impact of helping someone else or someone else's family getting helped. That was not in our mindset. Our mindset was, how is our mom going to look in the casket? And is she going to look different? I think we were thinking maybe more immediate consequences if we said yes and gave a thumbs up to this corneal donation. And now in retrospect, you look back and that is just such a small portion of the process of corneal donation. And seriously talking with so many of the folks at SightLife, and props to everyone there, because you all had to talk to my brother, sister, and I on multiple different phone calls because we weren't together. It really, I'll say, it opened our eyes to the beauty that you can do, but it's not even like what we're doing. It's what we're allowing, in this instance, our mom to be able to do. And our dad was a doctor, our mom was a nurse. So they both dedicated their lives to helping others, and being able to then allow our mom to help people after she passed, that was just like the most surreal thing. So not that I was anti-corneal donation, it was just one of those things that, listen, we're all human and we all want to think we know a lot of stuff. And just there's sometimes topics that you don't know, a lot of info about. But yeah, it was, I've loved being able to research and learn so much more about corneal donation with you all.
Yeah, well, thank you. Eye-opening, it certainly is when you learn about it. Yeah. We know your mom was a nurse. We know, I believe that was her grandchild she was holding, and that lovely. And I think one thing that really touches me in that story is the bracelet that you were wearing, and the importance of having an object like that with you, and the sprinkling of the turquoise glitter. But how else do you think your mom would like to be remembered?
I will say, I actually, they say you can't do something twice in the theater. Not that this is a performance, but this is the outfit I wore to my mom's viewing and wake. So that's why I'm in this today. I think the way that my mom would want to be remembered, I feel like my mom wouldn't say, I want to be remembered this way. I think she would say, Chris, how are you going to make sure that you're living your life to the fullest every day, doing your best and doing it for God, and just being a servant to the world in any way that you can. And I think her example of showing kindness and love and just being positive and joyous every day. And I get it. So many of the people watching this right now, you have had very bumpy roads. We have all faced so many tragedies in our lives, but we have also faced triumphs. And I think being able to always look for the good in something is something that my mom didn't ever verbally really say for me to do, but in her acts and her just everyday life, just showed the importance of, being kind and being patient with people. Everything's gonna, work out in the end.
She sounds like a very wise woman, Chris.
Absolutely. And right now, my dad next to her in heaven is probably saying, oh yeah, she's wise.
And Chris, what would you say now to a family that is considering donation?
Well, I think first I would say, if you're considering it in the immediate future, I'm sorry for your loss. Because a lot of us are introduced to something like SightLife when we lose someone. I truthfully did not know my organ donor status when I was doing this story. I had to verify it and look it up. I think a lot of us just assume, when you get a permit or a license at the DMV, that's when you become a donor. So I would, say if it's a possibility for you to be able to help someone else without any really harm to you or your loved one, then, why wouldn't you do it? And it's not like a decision that you have to make right this second, but if you, meditate on it, pray upon it, however you, make decisions in your life, if it's with a mentor or a loved one or your coworker, just consider it. And not even just corneas. I mean, any sort of organ donation or any sort of, maybe start small. If you're on the fence about making that commitment, maybe go and donate blood. And that'll be your, first instance in donating a part of your body, and you can see the good. So not that I'm an advocate of, let's all go to the blood bank tomorrow, but I think it's just a nice reminder that we all need help at one point or many points in our life. And a lot of the times when you need that help, it comes at an unexpected time. And if I'm able to potentially help someone in that time when I know I would want to be helped, then I would be absolutely, thumbs up. Let me sign on the dotted line for it.
That is actually a great piece of advice. I've never considered that, to donate blood if you haven't considered donation. Thank you so much, Chris, for joining us tonight and for everything that you've shared, but also just for everything you've done to encourage people to consider donation, to consider registering to be a donor, and just helping more people to find that hope and healing after loss. Thank you so much.
Thank you, Chris.
Thank you, Stacy and Rebecca. And I just want to say very briefly, for all the people that we don't see on the screen, please know that you are being seen, you are being heard. A year ago, I was sitting in my pajamas about 10 feet away from where I'm sitting now, listening to everyone talking. And, you sometimes think, I wonder if they really realize people are watching, but we do. And know that, you're all in everyone's thoughts and prayers. And happy Thanksgiving, everyone.
Thank you. Thank you so much. I have been here at SightLife for 10 years, and, hearing on these amazing stories, I feel like I learned so much about people and just, I like to pause and reflect a little on what each story teaches me. And that's the beauty of stories, and that's the beauty of storytelling. It helps carry forward your loved one's legacy. We actually have a blog. If you are interested in storytelling, we're gonna drop the link in the chat box, but it's an article about how to tell stories and also the power that storytelling has of sharing a person's legacy, carrying that forward, and then also how the process of storytelling can be very healing in the grief process. So as you can see, it is there in the blog, so take a look if you're interested. Now I have the pleasure of introducing our first video tribute to the individuals who made the selfless decision to be a donor. Please remember, you may not see the photo of your loved one in this segment, as there will be 3 donor memorial slideshows throughout the night.
that was incredibly beautiful seeing those photos that you shared, and we will have more throughout the evening. But thank you for what we've seen so far, and for sending those photos in. I look forward to seeing more. And I also just want to acknowledge all the thank yous I've seen in the chat box out to Chris for sharing his story and talking about Barbara. So thank you again, Chris, from all of us. I am very honored to introduce our next guest, who is Sam Gonzalez. He's a proud native Texan and a cornea recipient. Sam needed a cornea transplant after a traumatic accident to his eye. And Sam, we are just so happy to have you with us today. If you are able to unmute and turn your camera on. Oh, I see you there. Thank you, Sam, for joining us. Just your positivity and your authenticity and your compassionate spirit, it's just truly infectious, and we are just so glad you are joining us.
My pleasure, my pleasure.
Well, Sam, I would love it if you could share with us just how your life changed when you lost your vision, and not only your life, but how it affected your friends and family and just the people in your community.
It's crazy, literally in the blink of an eye. And, it was crazy because one day at 12 o'clock, I was texting a friend, hey, what are we going to do for Halloween weekend? What are the plans? And at 12:05, I saw black in my left eye, blood, unfortunately, everywhere. And went to the hospital, didn't think of anything of it, thought, okay, they'll bandage me up, I'll be home tonight. Well, I went home, but after I had traumatic surgery, I woke up the next morning with a bandage over my eye, still couldn't see, and I knew that's when things were serious. I could see out of my right eye still, just no vision in my left eye whatsoever, and went to the doctors again that day, and that's when they had told me, everything that happened, how much damage I had to my left eye. And it was pretty shocking to know that this was going to be my life, for at least a while. And especially to know that the doctors really didn't even know what was going on. They just kind of closed up the wound and said, we'll see you on a daily basis and hopefully on a weekly basis. And it kind of put not only my world on pause, but my family, my friends, all of their worlds on pause. I was the one friend that was kind of planning everything every time we always went out and did something, what movie we were going to go see, where we were going to go. And all of a sudden you take me out of the equation. They were all kind of shocked and didn't know what to do. They weren't hanging out as much. And it hurt me to see them like that. It hurt me to see my mom coming home every day. She couldn't even take a lunch because she was coming home to make sure that, she was helping me with my eye drops, making sure I was fed, because I was glued to the couch. I had no motivation whatsoever to get up, to go out and even to walk to the kitchen to, make a sandwich or something. Just, I was so depressed and just so deprived of energy because of that first month of knowing that this is my life, this is how I'm going to have to live. And no one knows what the future holds. No one knows what tomorrow is going to look like. And you never expect something to happen to you until it happens to you.
Yeah. You have a really remarkable opportunity to be here in front of quite a few donor families. And so I'm going to ask you, what would you like to say to our donor families regarding the impact of their gift, sort of as a representative of recipients?
Thank you. Thank you for coming to peace, with the pain. It's unfortunate that your friend, your loved one, your family member isn't here anymore. But the way I see it is they're not. They especially with my organ donor, all I knew was that he was a 59-year-old male from Seattle, and he's seeing life again through a 19-year-old kid from South Texas. He's going to see me go through college, graduate through college. get married, have kids, and go to all these events. He's living again, and he's given me the opportunity to live again. And that's exactly what all of these organ donors are. They're giving someone, in my opinion, too, one of the greatest gifts a human can give to someone else, which is the second chance at life. No one expects to go through life, not being able to see or having problems with their eyes or anything like that. But yes, like me, I may have to be on eye drops for the rest of my life, but I get to see through two eyes again. I get to be able to live that normal teenage life, and so does everyone else that's a recipient.
Yeah.
That's just a wonderful thing to hear you say, Sam, that it is just how much it has given you. Had you ever thought about donation before? Has this influenced your thoughts about donation?
When when I was at the DMV, actually, I remember, filling out the paperwork, just like everyone else, and going through the check boxes and the check marks. And I remember my mom was right next to me, and I asked her, I said, "Mom, the organ donor, what's going on?" "Oh yeah, it's this great thing. You get to be okay. Yes, yes or no? What do I do?" "Well, if you do yes, okay, let's do it. Yeah, I want to get behind the wheel and get on the road." So I was an organ donor then, but now that I'm a recipient, now I know that it means more than just a checkbox. It means that you're giving someone, like I said, the second opportunity at life to live a normal life and get to be who they are and get to take on the world and be the person that they're meant to be and who they are.
Yeah. Thank you. I know there are probably many, many things, but what are some of the top things that mean the most to you now that you can see?
Definitely light in general. For that first 2 to 3 months, light was so hard to see. I couldn't watch TV. I couldn't, even look above the dashboard every time my mom was driving me somewhere. I couldn't even walk into the restroom with the light on because of how much it hurt. I was in so much pain. 100% of light was just going into my good eye.
Yeah.
And I'm a huge football fan, and I couldn't even watch football looking at the TV without hurting. I had to use the sound and my ears to listen and watch the game. But now that I have two eyes, again, that can take in both, 50-50 light, I can walk outside without sunglasses anymore, which I could never do before. And it's just one of the greatest things. I'm able to look at the sunrise and sunset without sunglasses and without my eyes and my head hurting. And I think that's one thing that we definitely all take for granted, is just light in general.
Yeah, definitely. That wouldn't even occur to me. And like you said, light is probably, it's everywhere. It's in the TV, in the bathroom. Yeah. Well, thank you so much for joining us tonight, Sam. It is so appreciated. Your story, your heart means so much to this community, and we thank you.
Thank you guys so much. Thank you. Really appreciate the opportunity.
Thanks. So before we go to our second slideshow, I wanted to make sure that you had access to an article that we wrote called Healing Takes Time. And that is an article we wrote about the donor family recipient connection. While there are connections sometimes made with donor families and recipients, direct ones, it's not that often. That is why we share stories like Sam's. That's why we have events like this, so you can understand a little more about a recipient's journey. So we just put in the link to that. So hopefully you take a look. And now we're going to take a few minutes to honor more of your loved ones. Remember, you may not see the photo of your loved one in this particular segment. Such lovely photos. Thank you so much for sharing. Whenever we bring a group like this together, whether it's in person or virtual, I am amazed by the group's compassion and understanding kindness. And I'm seeing this in the chat box. It's just unbelievable, the compassion that you're sharing with each other. The donation community is made up of special people.
There are some beautiful comments that have been coming up in the chat box, absolutely. And the donation community is large, and it takes a lot of people. Before I joined our family services team, I actually had the privilege of working with SightLife as a transplant donor coordinator, meaning I was the person contacting families like yours. In addition to hospitals, funeral homes, coroners, all to coordinate the cornea recovery. I actually may have been the person some of you spoke with in those early hours after losing your loved one when you got that call and learned that they had the potential to help others as a cornea donor. These conversations are hard, but they are necessary to ensure that your loved one can give the gift of sight. I just want to personally thank everyone who is here with us tonight for answering that call on one of your darkest days. Before my time with SightLife, I was also a funeral director in Alaska. And I remember times at the funeral home when the local eye bank would contact me to assist in donations. A lot of folks don't realize it, but funeral directors are vital in helping to make donation happen. They're a critical part of this whole community of compassion. Because donation is so time sensitive, many funeral homes will open their doors 24/7 to let in eye technicians so that the cornea recovery can happen quickly. I love that the theme is community of compassion, because it really does take this community of individuals that are choosing to all work together for this common goal. And we at SightLife, we just greatly appreciate our full community that helps us transform lives through sight restoration.
Yes, we are so fortunate to work with so many incredible partners to make the gift of sight possible. Along with funeral directors, there are partners who are essential to making donation happen. Without the help of these stakeholders, our work and community health impact would not be possible. They each play a key role in bringing sight to those in need. Upon a patient's death, hospitals, often a nurse, inform SightLife of a potential donor. When a death occurs outside of a hospital, they are reported to SightLife by medical examiners and coroners. We work closely together with them to ensure cornea recovery does not hinder death investigations. These key individuals help to weave the intricate tapestry that is the donation process, the common thread being their passion and dedication to serving their communities. They are the embodiment of a community of compassion, and we are so grateful for their work. Now, let's take some time to honor the final group of your loved ones tonight with our last donor memorial slideshow. It is so wonderful to see all the faces, and some, I think, in probably their favorite places, some surrounded with those who love them, and some with their favorite pets. It's really special, and we thank you so much for sharing that.
There are some beautiful, beautiful moments in those photos, and beautiful and kind comments in the chat box as well. So much love and just so much warmth and generosity, and all of you chose to give and to think of other people at such a hard time for yourselves, and we are so thankful to you all.
Before we close tonight, I want to remind our donor families of the many community and bereavement resources that SightLife has to offer, including a very robust resource page on SightLife.org with some of the articles that I mentioned tonight. The donor family Facebook page, which I think between us mentioned many times, and it's a private community that is just made up with donor families and Stacy and I, and we tell stories of our loved ones. We have resources there, and also we post some events. Sort of like these, we have virtual gatherings at least once a month. They're small, about 10 people. And you can find out more about these through that. We also have a quarterly newsletter that you can learn about our events, or you can email me, and that's rebecca.grossman@sightlife.org, and I'll tell you what's on our calendar. Other things that we have going on in the remainder of 2021 and 2022 are webinars. We have a book club, volunteer opportunities, and one day we will all, maybe not all at the same time, but we will have in-person donation celebrations.
We are looking forward to all those events, and just really want to encourage everyone in our community to just take those few key steps to help spread the word about donation. First, start by having that conversation with your friends and family. Sharing your wishes to be a donor is so important. It lets them know what your wishes are, and it makes others think about how donation can be both healing for families experiencing loss, but can also be life transforming for people like Sam. And then just take the 2 minutes to register yourself to be a donor by visiting registerme.org.
Yeah, having that conversation is such a key step. It's so much easier to know what your family members and your friends want, what their final wishes are. We also find that telling stories like Chris's and Sam's can be so powerful in demonstrating the transformative impact of donation. If you ever want to share your story and what donation meant to your loved one and you, please email us at donorfamilyservices@sightlife.org, or you could just email Stacy and I directly, and we'll answer you. Thank you so much for joining us tonight in our SightLife community of compassion. We hope you enjoyed this special evening in honor of so many of your loved ones. It truly has been our honor and our pleasure and our privilege. And thank you to all of you. We hope after this you find something that brings you peace and comfort. And SightLife wishes you continued peace moving forward. Thank you.
Thank you.